Welcome, everyone, to the Chicago Football Connection podcast. I'm your host, Steve Letizia. Follow me on Twitter at CFC Bears, joined by my co-host, Luke O'Grady. Follow him on Twitter at Luke O'Grady. We're doing a mock offseason today. So we thought about breaking it up in two parts, but we're just going to run all the way through free agency, cuts, the draft, everything. A little pre-combine Bears mock offseason. I'm sure things will change dramatically after the combine. When some news is breaking, there's reports of teams meeting with free agents and meeting with players. But we wanted to do something a little bit, before the combine to kind of just, see what things look like heading into the offseason. So, before we get started, Luke, how are you feeling? How are you feeling heading into this offseason?
It's a good offseason, man. It should be, last year I think everyone was like, this would be one of the most fun off seasons ever. And I think that this one has the opportunity to be just as fun, if not more fun. Last year it was about building around Justin Fields. And it feels like this year, at least how we would probably imagine it and what the tea leaves kind of feel like. And also what we would do is, this offseason we get to start off with a new quarterback. And on top of that, we have 2 first-round picks. And again, we have a top 3, cap situation in the league. And we have a better roster than we did heading into last offseason. So the offseason is more fun because the outlook into next season is going to be more positive. And also now we have more insight kind of into how Ryan Poles approaches free agency and approaches the offseason as a whole. So doing things like these can be a little easier as far as trying to do it in the style that we think Ryan Poles would do it. And blend that with, because it may be nice to go in here and pay a bunch of money and get a bunch of really, really big names. And, that might be good for the Bears, but it's certainly not how Poles goes about it for the most part. And, I think today, at least I know we haven't exactly expressed this, but my expectation is that we're trying to do, what we think is best for the Bears, but also in the framework of what we think kind of the Bears will do.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a perfect way to put it. And we're using the Bears offseason mock spreadsheet that Butkus Stats, Quentin Crisco puts together. So shout out to him. Make sure to follow him on Twitter at Butkus Stats. He puts together this great offseason mock that you just select things from drop downs and just automatic updates like cap space and stuff like that. So really is the only way to do it because I can't imagine trying to do it by hand.
Yeah, imagine writing it out.
Yeah. So on that note, kind of talking about the offseason, we're going to go obviously start with free agency because free agency is before the draft.
Yeah.
But I think even before we get to free agency, the first thing we have to talk about is Justin Fields. What are they going to do with him? Are they keeping him? Are they trading him? I know, we know that we're both on the same page. We want we think the Bears are going to be drafting Caleb Williams and trading Justin Fields. So that's the way we're going to do this mock off season. If you don't like that, comment, do whatever you need to do. But that's what the direction we're going to go ahead in this mock. So that is the first domino to fall. That kind of sets up free agency. It sets up the draft. So we have to talk about that first. Yep. So I have the thing up, but let me do this. Let's get in there and explore some trades. So there's a couple of teams that pop into my mind.
Yep.
First, when talking about there's the Falcons and the Steelers.
Those are probably the most talked about options.
Those are probably the most talked about, probably the most realistic. Then you have the Raiders are still appearing in the conversation, even though they hired Luke Getsy. So
which I would hate for Justin.
I know.
I would hate for Luke Getsy too.
Right. I feel like they both need to
work, and it's I think you and I both think that those people can be good. Yeah. But I don't want you would just muddy the waters more if there was ever anything but success if they went there together, because then you'd be okay, again, if we separate those two, what actually is the issue here?
Yeah, and they're it'd be the toxic exes who they dated forever and they fought constantly and then they finally broke up and you're good, this is great for both of you guys, and then 2 months later they're back together and you're no, stop it.
Could you imagine if you're Luke Getsy and they did that? Yeah. You'd be you didn't really ask me, did you?
Yeah. So I think
Luke Getsy got asked about it, and he was pretty good about, I love that man and the person, and and the player and all that. He was very political, but I think he actually does like Justin as the person. And if they were, put together, obviously they wouldn't kick up a stink. But I think just from their career success and carving out their own kind of space, I think we're going to rule out doing the Raiders just because I don't think that makes a whole lot of sense. Now,
Agreed.
You made a good point today about the Falcons being that if you trade them Justin Fields, that number 8 pick becomes less likely to be a quarterback or any of them above it if they end up trading up for a quarterback. So it just decreases the likelihood that one of the picks in front of the Bears would push someone like a Neighbors, or whoever else down the board because a quarterback gets picked. And because of that, I actually think that if you have the option, I would prefer to trade it to the Steelers because that's a really good point.
Yeah, I thought about that today, and it just makes a lot of sense. Like, if you trade Justin Fields to the Falcons, say you get pick 43, whatever, they're no longer using that that 8th overall pick to draft a quarterback. They're drafting potentially a wide receiver. It's not their biggest need, but they do need a wide receiver too, off of Drake London, and I don't think Drake London's like that top tier wide receiver 1. So like it'd be nice to have another guy to kind of complement him. They can also go defense, they can go pass rusher, they can go a lot of different directions. But either way, no matter what they do, like the Bears aren't drafting a quarterback at 9, so you want a quarterback to go ahead of them to just push all the talent on the board. Yeah. Now, I don't think that's going to be something that's like a huge deal breaker for them. If the Falcons offer a better deal, they're going to take the Falcons offer. But there is that added benefit of trading with like a team like the Steelers. And then I think another kind of like couple of dark horse teams maybe that could potentially look into this is the Broncos.
Yep.
With Sean Payton, they don't have a second-round pick, but they could trade like next year's second and like a third this year or something like that. And then maybe even like the Seahawks. Geno Smith is there, but he's not their long-term answer. They could trade for Fields, let him sit behind Geno Smith for a year. Yep. And so I think those are two teams. I'm not sure if that's what we're going to explore. What we're going to do today. I think we're going to go with either the Falcons or the Steelers. But I also think because this is not the last mock offseason we'll do, no matter which one we pick, we should do it differently next time.
Right. So, I think the most smoke as of late has been Fields to the Steelers. The odds for him shifted there.
Yeah.
A lot as of late, and not to mention he made that comment today about liking playing in Pittsburgh when he got to play there, and they talked about when they were talking about that Pittsburgh game from 2 seasons ago.
Yeah,
which he didn't need to say, or maybe people made more of it than he did. Maybe Justin was just doing his thing. Yeah. But like if we were to do the Falcons, I think we would probably want to do it in a way where Fields, it's like Fields and like number 9 for number 8 and something else.
Yeah, Yeah, swapping that pick so you can get ahead of them. Yeah, and then so this pick swap 8 and 9, Justin Fields, and then 43. I think that would be the best case scenario you can get. I don't think you can get anything more than that.
That would be what I would say, and I think that would put us in a good position because the rumblings of late has been like the Giants are probably looking for a quarterback. And, we definitely think the first 2 are going to be quarterbacks. There's a good chance that we would have someone fall there. My only thought would be if by chance you get to 8 and like Neighbors O'Dunes and Marvin Harrison Jr. are gone and you did this trades for Field like yesterday, now having 8 feels kind of pointless already. And then it's like, do you just trade back again? It's like, why did you even really do it that way anyway, unless you think you could value it for like a quarterback trade up?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the other thing about doing this trade is if you're sitting at 8, it makes it a little bit easier to trade up to 6. It's just one spot, but that's a big difference. Like trading up from 9 to 6 is different from trading up from 8 to 6. So it also just gets you in striking range. And if you can't get a deal and you are at 8 and all the wide receivers are gone, you could still trade back and you get a little bit extra.
Yeah, and maybe at that point, Jaden Daniels is on the board and you can get someone to pay big.
Right. So do we want to do this trade or do we want to go with the Steelers?
It feels like the Falcons trade right now has so much that needs to be considered. And there's the dynamics to it. I'm glad that it's Poles and some other guys like crunching the numbers, figuring out how best to do it. Yeah. I feel like, especially from the way I like to attack the draft, 20 is at like where the Steelers pick is actually a really nice spot because you kind of have those guys that like should have been taken in the top 10 that are still there. When you're in the top 10, you start to have less of that. They're starting to free fall value. And on top of that, it's probably a little easier with the Steelers. You know, you just kind of bang out like an early first round value. Like maybe we give him Fields and a late pick for the first and something like that, or a mid pick and Fields for the first. And that would probably make sense.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the Bears would get pick 20 for him, but
the rumblings as of late have been that, like, you know, he might get more than we think. So I like, if we did like Fields and 3 for 20, like that would maybe like, does that sound crazy?
Fields and what, like Fields and 75, you mean?
Yeah, or or maybe like Fields and 2 fourths, like 111 and a fourth next year
for pick 20. It says there's a 16% chance to be.
All right, we'll throw the third in.
Let's do the third. Yeah, okay, so that would be
the fourth
74% with the third, and then a fourth next year would be likely to be accepted. Honestly, I think I would almost rather. I mean, I'd rather almost keep the 75th pick and just get like 50 and 84.
Yep, I think so too. And
I mean, obviously, it'd be great to have extra first, but you also have to keep in mind like 3 personal picks.
Second and a third is really good. Well, we need to be fair about this though. What did Darnold garner?
Darnold went for
he's gonna get more than that.
A second, a fourth, and a sixth.
So a second and a third.
So I think a second and a third is
sixth.
I would say a second and third is more than that. A third round pick is so much more valuable than a fourth.
A fourth and a sixth?
Yes, second, fourth, and sixth is what Darnold went for.
So we go 52 and 84. Okay, let's do it.
Do you want to do this?
I think so, and I think that adds some. That's more MO to what Poles does. Poles likes to have anywhere from like 8 to 10 picks in the draft, and that kind of makes it fun to have those picks instead of just waiting straight to 75.
Yep. Okay, so we'll put those in now we have those draft picks in hand.
Yeah, so if you guys didn't see what happened there, like Steve just goes in and you can add during these tradings, like you can just add those picks in, and now when you get to the next step of the free agent mock, when you're doing your picks, those are available to you to like, and the system is built around it, so it works. And it's pretty cool.
Yeah. All right, so now free agents will come.
The issue has been dealt with. We did so because we think it's the right thing to do, and it seems that anybody that's actually in the know in the last 2 or 3 months has been all in on Bears and Caleb, and it really and the rumblings about Fields is starting to really seem to be, have some weight behind them. Like these conversations might actually be happening. So that's the way that we're going with it.
Yep. And it's over. We're moving on. I hate talking about it so much, so I'm just glad we'll just put it behind us. All right, so now we're getting to cap casualty. So I already have Cody Whitehair and Eddie Jackson cut here because that actually has happened in real life already. But kind of going down this list, we'll just go kind of position by position. The interesting thing about this is you have to cut, like, basically just using this mock, you basically have to cut everyone you think is going to get cut leading up to the 53-man roster.
Yep.
Because the way the cap is calculated, it's only calculated based on 51, and that's not how this works because it's just too difficult to do.
Yeah, so we'll probably be making like 10 cuts or so here.
We'll be making more cuts than the Bears will be making in the next month or so.
Yeah. So
like guys like,
especially the way that I think the Bears will attack the interior offensive line. Someone like a Doug Kramer I like, and he'll probably makes it to late August, but I don't think he makes the 53 next year.
I would agree. I think he's going to be a post one. He's going to be he's going to go to camp with the Bears, but he's ultimately not going to make the team because we're going to sign a center or we're going to draft a center.
Or do both.
Or do both, or potentially do both. So I agree with you. I think he's on the chopping block in camp.
So then we get to the cornerbacks: Stevenson, Gordon, Jalen, Terrell Smith, obviously locks.
Yep. I would say Quindell Johnson.
I are in agreement that we're going to be taking the approach in this one that we're tagging Jalen Johnson.
Yes, either tagging him, sign him, but he's going to be a Bear.
He's going to be getting top 5 no matter what. So that would be 4 corners. I think the expectation is that you probably carry 6.
Mm-hmm. So for right now, let's just keep these 5 here. I cut Quindell Johnson.
Yep, I think that looks good.
We'll keep these 5 guys and we'll get Johnson, and maybe we can always come back here and cut someone else if we decide to draft a corner or sign.
Roman would probably be the outside looking in just because Jalen Jones has game reps.
Yeah, exactly.
But either way, that's fine at the moment. Yep.
And it doesn't really matter. We can cut Jalen Jones and keep Quindell Johnson. It's not going to change anything really.
I think we get here to our first big decision, and I'd be interested to hear your kind of angle on it, because I think he played a little bit better down the stretch as the whole defense started to play better. But I think there's actually a conversation to be had that DeMarcus Walker is a cut candidate this offseason, despite the fact that he was signed to a fairly all right contract just last year. Or sorry, was it 2 years ago?
Last year.
Just last year. I don't think he played very well. Like I said, I think when the defense started to get a little bit more identity, he started to play a little bit better. But you do get some serious cap savings with your cutting of him, and with that, he definitely didn't play like as an $8 million player last year. Like when Khalid Kareem, for example, was on the field, almost 10 times as cheap. It was like it was fairly indiscernible who was that much better.
Yeah, I would be surprised if he gets cut. It's certainly possible, but just looking at like the other guys you have here, like right now, like Dominic Robinson, Khalid Kareem, like they weren't as good as DeMarcus Walker. I do think DeMarcus Walker did come on really nicely at the end of the year, because when he didn't have to be the guy, Montez Sweat came in, and that just made everyone better. And I think the Bears will be adding some sort of edge rusher, either a high pick or a free agent, and that moves DeMarcus Walker to your third pass rusher. Now that makes him more appealing as a player, but then the other question is, do you want to pay your third pass rusher $8 million a year? So it's kind of a double-edged. I would say I'm going to.
This is another thing too, that when we get back to the market, it's not a huge deal when we decide to move on from him. He can sit on there until we've like kind of made our decisions about who we want to bring on the free agent side and where the money is. But he is someone that, I've seen it maybe mentioned a handful of times, but there's money to be saved cutting him, and he definitely underperformed. And I think it's just something to monitor where, I don't think that this organization by any means is tied to him. Like last year, I think some people talked about like keeping Cody Whitehair even last year was like wasting money, but it was like, there was a good organizational tie to him, and he had that veteran status. I don't know how many like stuff like that, like DeMarcus Walker checks, where it's like if you don't expect him to kind of continue that upward play that he had by the end of the year at that $8 million mark, I think he is a real like cut candidate later on.
Yeah, actually, you know what? I really haven't thought about it too much. I just kind of always had him marked for a spot, but I think you might be right, just because they are going to be adding that position. And
I think they attack it pretty aggressively in the draft, and like I think a typical polls. I mean, DeMarcus Walker fits the mold. The typical polls free agent is a young, good athlete. Like if they add some people to that group that they think puts DeMarcus Walker on the outside looking in, he's a fairly expensive person to be on the outside looking in.
Yeah, I agree. That's actually good. I haven't really thought about it that way, but you might be right. I'm going to leave him active for now.
I think so too.
We could always come back and cut him later if we need to, if we, address the position other ways. But let's leave him active for now, and then come back to that.
Cool.
Robinson, Kareem, like I feel like Kareem's probably done.
Yeah, probably. And
because you're gonna add two people to this room, and he's probably gonna be the odd man out there.
Yeah. Blasting game stays, billing stays.
Yep.
Contract extension, and
this guy, I don't even know who this guy is. He's gonna be gone. But yeah, Pickens
stays, doing 4 is out. Cairo Santos just got new money. He's obviously staying. Edmonds and Edwards, man, down the stretch, they were really starting to play good ball together. I'm excited for them next year. Noah Sewell, young draft pick to play good. Jack Sanborn, obviously going to stay.
Yeah, great deal there.
I think this coaching staff is high on Micah Baskerville, but I would be shocked if he makes it. And like, we probably don't need to be carrying 5 linebackers unless you're going to do special teams.
Right.
I think you could probably leave him for now. And if you want to save $1 million, he's an easy cut later. Let's cut Daniel Hardy.
Yep.
Cameron Lyons. I mean, you can do him. We can probably just go sign Patty Scales again in free agency if we want.
Yeah, I'd rather let's just keep this long snapper. Let's go cheap. Sure. I want to save some money. Let's keep him. We need a long snapper on the roster.
Davis, obviously not. Tevin Jenkins, obviously not. Jatir Carter, obviously not. Bill Murray, that's the comedian. Get him out of there.
Yeah, I think I'm going to cut both these guys.
Jerome Carvin to go.
Yep.
I would say both of those bottom linemen. Yeah, I don't know if Aviante Collins or Roy Mbeteka is gonna make it.
Yeah, Avante Collins. Yeah, I don't think so. Well, the real one here is like I think I would probably cut Lloyd Borum first. Lloyd Borum hasn't been good, and he's making more money. So
that'd be interesting. I mean, I didn't expect them to try and add anyone in free agency, except maybe add someone in the draft, just because you kind of should always be adding tackles in the draft. But yeah. I would imagine that we keep Larry Borum on a vet minimum. He's got experience in the system, and as a backup he's got a lot of NFL action for a backup. And for $1 million, I mean, you
That's
almost that's value. I think is fine.
That's fair. So we'll cut Aviante Collins. Then moving down, we only need one punter.
Yeah.
I guess it's going to be Trenton Gill. I wouldn't be opposed to cutting both these guys and signing a punter, to be honest. But we'll keep it simple and we'll just keep
Gill. We have Justin Fields as a pre-6-1 trade.
I wonder I just want to see what the difference is if you do. Yeah, so it actually doesn't matter.
Perfect.
But yeah, so trade there. Tyson Bagent going to stay on the team, I guess.
Travis Homer, honestly, it's tough because you need to add someone that fits the Travis Homer mold. But for some reason, like, as a pass blocker and as a third down type of back, we almost never saw him last year.
Yeah, I'm going to keep him active because we didn't see a lot of him last year. He's a valuable special teamer and he has familiarity with Shane Waldron. Totally. So I think there's a good chance that he stays because, I mean, especially with this running back room, you have 3 guys. And in total, it's $4 million. Like, that's not.
Yeah, and honestly, it's a group that I like, and I didn't even think about the fact that Homer and Waldron had played. If they crossed over in Seattle, then I think almost surely he'll probably stay.
And then we might draft a running back. Like, it's certainly possible, or sign a cheap one. But I think all 3 of those guys,
like every year, just add young wheels to that room. You know what I mean? Yeah. Brisker, I think, stays. I think Hicks stays.
I think Hicks
and Coleman. I don't know.
I would honestly, what I would do here, and I'm like at the safety position, I would honestly basically cut all 3 of these guys.
I'm happy to
sign a safety, draft a safety. Maybe we can keep Hicks, but I would cut both these guys.
There's a handful of positions that when it comes time to go into the free agency, we can talk about what we think our philosophy about how to approach it is. But there's a handful of positions I think the Bears need to go free agent and draft pick. Yeah. And one of them is safety.
For sure.
And because of that, I'm happy that cut all 3 if we want to go that way.
Yeah, let's do it because I think that's going to happen. We can come back to and cut picks too if we even get more guys. But tight end, we only have 2 on the roster right now. I think I'm going to keep them both there. Komet's obviously not going anywhere. Carlson's a fine backup. We'll probably add to that room at some point, probably in free agency.
And Simba Webster's gone, and honestly, depending on how the whole thing shakes out, Bayless Jones could be gone as well.
It's possible. We'll leave him in there for now. Again, that's someone we can come back to if we need to. Because right now we only have 3 wide receivers on the roster, so we need at least 3 more guys. Is that right? Don't we have someone else? No, I guess that is probably it. Okay,
that's crazy.
So got all of our cuts in. So now if we go over, how many people do we have on our roster right now? We have 37 guys on our roster. So that's not bad. So that's signing. We have 6 draft picks. So I guess it's to 43. So we have 10 spots, potentially, 8-10 spots we got to fill depending, because I'm sure we'll trade in the draft. Yep. We have 8 draft picks because we're going to trade Justin Fields. So about 7-8 guys we could probably sign. Another thing to keep in mind.
Money do we have?
About $85 million.
So I say the first move. Oh, hold on.
Well, before we get started, I just want to say that, we have $85 million to spend, but usually you want to keep $5 to $10 million in the bank. Probably around $5 million, and for cuts. Also, our draft class is going to be about $15 million. So we got to keep that in mind as well.
Last estimates I heard was that if we gain any value through any trades, you should expect it to be about 17 million.
Okay, yeah. So 15. We'll let's say 17 million just to be on the safe side.
Cool.
And then so that's
we wanna. I mean, I think this thing does actually account for. When you punch the draft picks in, it'll show you the value at that pick in that slot too, which is awesome.
Yep. So let's look at the free agency. Let's go. I mean, let's start with center because
okay. So I think we should talk about what we kind of think is the best way, how we think the Bears will approach it, and the stuff that we think definitely needs to be addressed. So definitely center. Interior O-line as a whole needs a bit of a buffing up. We probably have our starters at guard. But we're going to be asking at the moment Jatir Carter basically to play backup everywhere if we cut Kramer. Yeah. So we need to add a starting center somewhere in free agency in the draft and some depth to all those groups somewhere in free agency in the draft.
Yep, agreed. I was looking at because I was writing an article for an offensive lineman in the draft, and I was just looking up, how many teams used what teams used how many offensive linemen like last year, and it was something like 24 teams had like 8 offensive linemen taking 200 snaps. Like, so you need like 8. Your 8th offensive lineman is most likely going to see some snaps. So you need someone who's not going to kill you. So yeah, not only do we need a starting center, we need a backup at the interior. Tevin Jenkins has been hurt throughout his career. You can't bank on him starting all 17 games. Nate Davis, I know he's dealing with some personal issues last year, but he was pretty ineffective at times. So you got to have an insurance policy there. And they need, depending on what you do with Larry Borum, like you need another offensive tackle too. So I feel like maybe not in free agency, but we're at least going to add some offensive linemen in free agency. So definitely there. I think edge is another one where you're definitely going to see maybe a big signing, but at least, a starter, getting a starter in place going into the draft. Because if you don't have at least a starter in place, then you basically go into the draft and you're saying we need to draft an edge rusher at 9, and that's not a good position to be in.
Well, that's actually the dynamic that I think Poles does an unbelievable job with, and it's something that I think that we should try and keep in mind when we're going about this, is that Poles will do a good job of you can get into the situation where if you spend if I go out and spend $25 million on an edge rusher, and the best player available on your board for pick number 9 for whatever reason, I don't think it would be, but let's say for some reason it is an edge rusher, you can get into a weird situation where it's okay, I don't need an edge rusher, and maybe we have someone with a similar grade at a position we do need, and then if you do that and pass the best player available, you can get into a tough spot. Something I think Poles does really well is he signs people that if he needs them to start, he feels comfortable with them starting. And if he needs to replace them, he feels comfortable replacing them. Yeah. So it's he'll sign someone like a Lucas Patrick, where it's if I have to rock with him as my center all year, he's got starting experience. If I have to do it, if he's our weak link, that's fine. And then I'll go out and also sign draft a guard or a center to that position too, and make them compete and be okay if he doesn't have to start the guy that he signed in free agency.
Yeah, no, I agree. And the other thing, I think you mentioned this a couple podcasts ago, he favors spending money on non-premium positions and then drafts premium positions. So if we're talking non-premium positions, that's center. I would just classify as non-premium. We saw it last year when he signed linebackers. I don't think we're going to sign linebackers, but safety, non-premium position. It's another position we could definitely target. Interior offensive line. Now, I think they'll also edge is a premium position. I think they will address that in free agency as well, just because they have such a huge need there. Yep. But yeah, center and safety would be 2 positions where I would not be surprised if they use a big chunk of their money at those positions.
I think that it's something, it's again, this is something I don't know if I would do. I think it would I think those are areas where it probably makes. I would think you could afford to maybe save some money, but I get why he would do it, because you're actually saving money in the places that you draft. You're never really saving money in the places that you sign in free agency. Exactly. So it's go take care of those positions and then just draft the stuff that's important. So he could aim for the top of the market and stuff like center. And there's been talks that maybe he targets something like a Cushenberry here.
Yeah, there's been some smoke there. So I think that's a good place to start. He is the most expensive center in this spreadsheet, almost $10 million cap hit. So that's, I would be perfectly fine with it. He's 26 years old. He's gotten better every single year. He's a guy who's on the upswing. So I'm fine with spending $10 million on him. There are other options as well. I think really Cushenberry, Andre James, Connor Williams, Tyler Biadasz, and Aaron Brewer. That's kind of where the cutoff is. All 5 of those guys, is that 5? Yeah, all 5 of those guys are really starting quality centers at the very least. Yeah. And then it kind of drops off after that, and there's some just depth pieces. But you got to get one of those 5 guys. Yeah. Preferably probably one of those top 3 guys.
It seems to me that the most smoke has been Cushenberry.
I agree.
He's good at what the NFL wants people to be good at. He's young and ascending. He did end the season on IR this year, didn't he? Didn't he tear something?
Maybe. I don't know.
And to your point, when I do this, when I go through these and I'm being a Bears sicko and looking over the best ways to go about this, I always go with Aaron Brewer here. Aaron Brewer, a young person, a young offensive lineman who played for Tennessee, He's got starting experience at guard and at center, and he's gotten better each year. And he checks those polls boxes of like young, athletic. He's half the price. And and I think he's great because if you find you're at 75 and Powers Johnson is there, obviously not, but like someone that you think could be your starting center in the long term is there. And for some reason now he becomes a depth piece, like that's fine.
Right. Yeah, no, that makes sense. I wanted to see what they had for, doesn't say what like how many years the deal is. I wish it did. But yeah, no, I think that's a good play. I mean, to me, they're the same age. He's also been, gotten better each year, and he's happy. So I'm fine with doing that if you want to do that. I mean, we can always come back if we get to the end of this and we're like, oh, we still have a lot of cap room. Then we come back like, let's switch it to Cushenberry.
And 100%, and that just gives you some areas where it's like it's safety if you did something crazy, like you want to attack like a Winfield or something. If he doesn't get tagged, like you have a little bit more like room to do so.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the next position I would go for. And I do think, I don't know, we could do Antoine Winfield. Like that's obviously a lot of money for center, but he's very good. But at the same time, like I just don't think there's a world where Antoine Winfield sees free agency. Like I think he's a prime tag candidate. So I would prefer probably to go in a different direction.
Cool.
For the sake of realism.
I think so too. I think when you see those lists about the people that are least likely to make it, he's usually on there, and those don't come out of nowhere. Like there has to be some expectation around there that they're not going to let him go. So so what are we looking at after that?
So then you got like Cameron Curl, who's good. Kyle Duggar. I don't know why they have asterisks next to their name, but two guys that I've always kind of like done when I'm doing these are Xavier McKinney and Geno Stone. I feel like both of those guys have a good chance of making a free agency. I know I saw a report today that the Giants are considering the transition tag on Xavier McKinney.
Right.
Gonna be honest, don't know exactly what that means. I gotta refresh my memory on that. But
transition tag is
it's just like you write it. Basically, you get the right to match it, right?
Instead of paying them the average of the top 5 people at the position, you pay them an average of the top 10 at the position.
Right.
But if you give everybody else the right to make them offers, and if you want to match the offer, you got to give that team like a second round pick, and then you got to sign that contract. Or no, sorry, you got to either match the contract or they sign the contract and have to give you, I think, like 2 second round picks or something.
Oh, okay. Well, if that's the case, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
But that is an option. Let's say they don't do the transition tag, like $10 million a year for a 25-year-old safety is always could be a good play. Geno Stone.
$5 million. Is Geno Stone the safety from the Ravens?
Safety from the Ravens. Played in Iowa
this year.
He had like 7 picks this year. It's kind of his first. I mean, like he's been okay in the past. This is kind of his first year with like elite ball production. And so, but I mean, I'm fine with that too. But we got to spend money somewhere because right now, even with those 2 signings, we still have $73 million to spend. So I'm not saying we have to. Maybe we go cheap.
That's only 2. I think we still try and add an internal an IDL. I think we still try and add at least one edge. There's a couple of really nice young edge options, and I think that you try and add a vet to the group too.
Yeah.
But I still think we need to add a wide receiver 3. So there's still money to be spent for sure. And honestly, Aaron Brewer and Geno Stone are like 2 dudes I think are awesome players. And I think they check those boxes of like young, good athletes that you can get I think that those are poll signings all over them. Like you said, these are those non-premium positions. So you could see him spring for like a Xavier McKinney or someone like a Cushenberry if he decides to spend a little bit more. But all 4 of those guys are in that same mold of like, doesn't really want to break the bank for the top market guy, but he wants them to be young. He wants them to be good athletes. He wants them to have like their best ball ahead of them.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go with that then. And then we can spend more money at like edge or wide receiver. I do think another position is tight end.
Probably do need to add at least one to the group. I would say because we have one like that we're already paying big for, I'd like to see us supplement it with maybe a cheaper option in like the draft. But if we wanted to add a good vet, when I did this last time, honestly, I re-signed Mercedes Lewis.
It's not a bad idea if you want a blocking tight end. I did Colby Parkinson because he comes from the Seahawks. He's not that expensive. 1 year, $3.5 million. I was like, that's not going to do anything. He knows the offense. The Shane Waldron in Seattle ran a lot of 2 tight end sets, so him and Cole Kmet could do that. He's not going to be a game changer. He's not or anything, but he knows the offense.
That's a bunch of great reasons.
Yeah.
Honestly, if it comes to September and Mercedes Lewis is still on the block, I'd still sign him. I think he blocked great. And if you're getting a rookie quarterback, you're basically adding another offensive coordinator. He's 40 years old, basically.
Right. Is that really what he's projected to get? $2.5 million for a blocking tight end?
I know that is pretty crazy. If you might want to hit Command Z because I've actually found that undoing things in this thing can be kind of tough.
Yeah. Well, you just have to delete the name and it comes out.
Oh, well, okay. So I'd take it back literally as easy as possible.
We can add him back in if we have some extra money maybe at the end, and we can add him in and then cut Carlson.
Cool.
So we got those 3 guys. So wide receiver, you mentioned interior defensive line. I think we need to add an edge as well. Let's do wide receiver right now.
Sure.
So let's see. So I don't think they're going to Pittman, T. Higgins. I don't see them kind of being in play for those guys. Even Mike Evans, Calvin Ridley. But I do think a Marquise Brown, maybe Darnell Mooney, Curtis Samuel, Tyler Boyd, guys like that is kind of really what they're going to be looking for. I like Tyler Boyd a lot. I also really intrigued by Marquise Brown because I think if you get Marquise Brown, DJ Moore, and then a Odunze or Neighbors, especially if you get Odunze, I feel like that really rounds out that group with a lot of different options. Marquise Brown gives you the big play speed threat.
Yep.
DJ Moore just the solid all around, and then Odunze is that bigger wide receiver contested catch.
Yeah, that X.
But we don't know what we're going to get at wide receiver in the draft, so I don't think we should be making decisions on that. But I do think that's an intriguing option. If we want to go a little cheaper, Curtis Samuel, Tyler Boyd could be really good.
Yeah, honestly, another one that's in there is Josh Reynolds, a little farther down the list, who I always kind of mess with these, man. I think he's great, and I think as a wide receiver 3, especially when at 28 years old, still I think he's a big target kind of guy. He works the middle of the field well. He's kind of always excelled in those more spread offenses. And I don't know if he's ever been bad where he's been. Kendrick Bourne is another nice option. Whenever I do these, Josh Reynolds, Tyler Boyd, those are always kind of the guys I go for. It's it's not flashy, but it's such a polls thing. It's all the things that we said about Geno Stone. It's all the things that we said about Aaron Brewer. There's upside. There's a proven track record of at least being able to get it done. They're young. They're not too expensive.
Yeah, I agree. Another guy I like when I do this is Noah Brown.
Yep.
Because he had a really good he's kind of an ascending guy. He was stuck behind a lot of guys when he was at Dallas. He went to the Houston Texans, played really well for the Houston Texans.
Seriously. And he had flashes in Dallas too, I think.
Yeah, he had flashes in Dallas and for pretty cheap. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good options here. I definitely think we need to sign someone. So again,
we have some money to spend. Noah Brown is almost, it's funny to say, almost too affordable. Yeah. Do you want to go a Tyler Boyd? I think Tyler Boyd would probably.
Tyler Boyd, yeah. I think
he adds a little bit more of a veteran presence, but you get a sure-handedness with him. You get a real pro.
Yep. He's going to be just real solid for you. I like that play. All right. So they've got.
I like how the Bears are coming together right now.
Yeah, I do too. Okay, so let's go up.
Let's go make a big splash. First off, let's go get Jalen Johnson.
Oh, yeah. Oh, shoot. I forgot about Jalen Johnson. Got to get Jalen Johnson. So that cuts into your cap space quite a bit. So we're at $43 million.
And like you said, we want to finish with about $20 million.
Let's say $20 million
on the table. Well, no, I suppose, because then once we finish our draft, we'll be good. So about $20 million after the free agents.
So then if we go to edge, so I do think they're going to sign an edge and they're going to draft an edge. There's been a lot of smoke around Danielle Hunter. That really cuts into you'd have about $6 million to kind of round out the roster. So I don't know. That might be a little bit too rich.
Well, let's look at we got 37 players right now. Is that what it says?
We have, with the signings, we have 43. So we have to get 10 more guys. We have 8 draft picks. So we really only need to sign 2 more guys.
That's basically what I imagined. One big edge, and then you add, an interior D line, or do you even add I think Justin Houston.
Yeah, I think with interior D line, we don't have to sign someone for a big contract. We just need some depth because we have Dexter, we have Billings, and we have Pickens, who, they would rookie day 2 draft picks last year. They're
Dude,
going to
100%. You're right.
So I do think there's definitely a possibility they sign someone, but it's not going to be. It's going to be more of a depth piece.
Bilal Nichols.
Yeah, I saw that. I've added him a couple times. I
Um,
don't know how he's been with the Raiders, but I always like he's on the Bears.
100%. So did I. I always thought he flashed. Man, it's
I
actually
don't know about $4
exciting.
million, but
All of the expectation is that the Bears are going to take a swing at the edge, and like you're going to be able to add like a really fun piece across from Montez Sweat. Where if you add someone in the draft as well, that could one of those things where it's like the DJ Moore effect, where you add a really really big talent to a group, and it turns it from being something of a a negative to like looking like something of a positive to a strength. Because now it's like it isn't Montez Sweat and then no one. It's Montez Sweat and another big name and a young guy. And then you're rounding that room out with, Dom Robinson and whoever else it is. It's a pretty exciting opportunity. The Bears are definitely going to have to. Like, you definitely don't want to have no cap space, but having there's no reason you're doing a human disservice leaving money on the table. The Bears are going to have to spend some big money on some contracts. You can almost be assured because of it that Jalen Johnson is going to come back. But on top of that, you're going to see them add like a pretty big name here.
Yeah, so I think Hunter has been connected to them. I saw a report that Jonathan Grenard has been attached to them. He's a younger guy, kind of more on the upswing. Where Hunter, but I mean, I don't think he's as good as Danielle Hunter. So
no,
but you get him a little bit discount. Bryce Huff is another guy. He's a guy I don't think the Bears will be super interested in him. I mean,
I wish, man. I think he's
great. He's fantastic.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I could also be wrong. We kind of talked, Tommy and I were kind of talking this on the Edge podcast last night. Like, are they going to go for a guy who fits the profile that they have coveted, like a guy who looks like Montez Sweat, or are they going to go for a guy who doesn't fit what they have and is completely different? It gives them a little bit more of a unique
change up. I know
a change up. So that would be Bryce Huff. If they're going for a guy that kind of fits their mold, that would be Danielle Hunter.
I mean, Danielle Hunter even then is still more of a speed guy.
That's true.
No, but I think there has been a lot of Danielle Hunter sweat. Yeah. There has been a lot of Danielle Hunter smoke. I think we need to add a big contract here. That would obviously be a big contract. It could definitely go a couple ways with who they want to go. There's actually a lot of edge talent hitting the free agent market this year. It's pretty surprising. Josh Uch is there. Chase Young is there. Exactly. Chase Young's still not even 24.
I noticed that. I was like, man, he's young.
Josh Uch only getting $7 million is crazy too.
Yeah.
Like for the price of getting Josh Allen would be amazing, man. Can you imagine? For the price of Zadarius Smith and Josh Uch, you could get a Danielle Hunter.
Right. So yeah.
And Zadarius Smith is someone that I think would be like a great vet presence for that room.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I struggle with these older guys, but yeah, Danielle Hunter is going to command multiple years, whereas Zadarius Smith, you might be able to just do a 1-year deal, and you draft an edge and let him develop, and then let him take over. So I don't know. I've gone back and forth on kind of what I want to do here. What are you thinking? I think the options really are Hunter would be if they go for a big price guy, it's Hunter. I think.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I If it were me, I would do. I would attack it and add someone that you really like in the draft, and then take two good classic polls contracts at that middle value where you get a Josh Uch and a Zadarius Smith.
Yeah, I think Grenard makes sense. Kind of as that second tier guy. He's young. He's ascending. He's athletic. I think that's the guy that they will go with. And then, if we go Uchi, so that's a little bit more than what we were spending on Hunter, but you also get 2 players.
Yeah,
and you don't have to use a draft. You don't necessarily have to use a draft pick. You certainly can.
No, and if the Bears did this, I would be ecstatic. I would love our edge room. I think both of those players have a lot of upside, and I think if both of those players don't have to be the guy when they show up, then there's so much to like about it.
Yeah. So then if we go back here, so I just want to see what the edges we have. So we have Sweat, Walker, Robinson. Like maybe they do cut Walker if they sign 2 of those guys. Like I don't think they would want to spend that much money on their edge group. So that would be what we have like $19 million of free agency, $25 million to Sweat, and $8 million to DeMarcus Walker. That's way too much money to be spending.
No, and then then your room would be Sweat, Robinson, Huge, Grenard, and a rookie. And I think that's a way better room.
Yeah. So let's do that. I haven't done that, but let's give that a try. So we still have that basically pays for Josh Uche. I don't even know how you pronounce it.
I have no idea either.
But that still leaves us with about $9 million to spend. So
like we said, we want to have some breathing room, and there's probably some stuff that you can manipulate. So you want to, like we said, 20.
Yeah.
So we got an $8 million.
Wait, that doesn't make sense. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh no, I guess that does. Oh, because we cut. Oh, that's right, because we cut him. So
yeah.
Okay. So we need to sign probably at least 1, probably 2 more guys. I would say anyone else we sign is going to be pretty cheap.
If we sign,
so I think maybe like a depth on the interior, like an offensive lineman.
I love that. I was going to say, I think depth on the interior, O-line and D-line.
Those will be our next 2 guys. So I mean, John Runyon, that's probably too expensive. It's probably a little cheaper than that. Let's see.
Yeah, I mean, is Kevin Zeitler looking to start?
I mean, he's old, isn't he? 34.
I think he could be
probably
for the room.
I would guess he'd be going to a team probably to win. Dan Feeney's available. Sign him. Justin Pugh. See, the problem is with like these guys, I have no idea like how they played the last couple of years.
Yeah,
I remember like all these players like, I remember him in the draft 4 years ago, but who knows if like he was.
I know Feliciano had a nice year this year.
Yeah,
he's a
little Chiefs guy. So right. Jackson's always nice.
I mean, I think was it Poles that signed? We signed like a really, really veteran right tackle, basically just to be a backup. We were giving him $11 million a year, but Braxton Jones was starting over him.
Yeah, that was
Riley Reef. It was
Riley Reef.
Like that seems to me like something that you could maybe do with like a Kevin Zeitler.
Yeah. You could. I don't know. I don't know. He might have had a really good year last year and is looking for
totally.
Contract. I have no idea.
You know what we could do is we could just go. I think 2 tabs over, it gives you like a ranking on them, doesn't it?
That's true. Yeah, let's go there.
Let's just go.
So we go to
not so expensive that had an all right year.
Yeah. So if we go to here, so let's see, like Max Sharping. Let's see, $1.3 million, 78 PFF grade. That's not bad. David Edwards, 90.2. Only 27. That seems like a good one. Let's sign him.
Yep. Yeah, David.
There it is.
Welcome.
Welcome to the team, David Edwards.
And then now we can go and get a name that's a little bit more exciting for the defensive line room. You don't have sort of like the IDL. You don't have to reach too high in the draft if you don't need it.
Probably about $7 million to spend, but we don't need to spend it all. We could also, because you don't want to. I mean, you don't. We might have 8 draft picks, but your 7th rounder might not even make the team. So like you really have like 5 draft picks that are for sure going to make the team. So we could. I would almost rather like spend on like maybe another cornerback just to get some depth in there. Maybe even a second safety or a running back, and like just sign like 2 guys for like $4 million each is what I would do there.
I love that. I think that's something that teams do a lot, is that they'll take a lot of shots out of position. I think the Eagles do that really well. I think the Lions do that really well. And I think it's something that I'd like to see the Bears do more. And I think Poles has shown flashes of it. Like he'll draft like groups and bundles. He'll draft 2 defensive linemen back to back. He'll draft 2 cornerbacks or defensive backs back to back. And if we wanted to do that with something like safety, like add a Geno Stone and then add another safety, or add like even another wide receiver to the room.
Yeah. So let's start with let's do that. Let's start with D tackle. So we're just kind of looking at some of the guys. They don't need to be like super good, but maybe like I said, like $3-4 million. Bilal Nichols apparently did not have a good year last year.
Sorry, Bilal.
Sorry, you're not making the team.
Yeah.
Well, like Mario Edwards, another familiar name.
I always liked him, honestly.
Ooh, what about Maurice Hurst? I know this is pretty cheap, but I always liked Maurice Hurst.
Yeah, he was out of Michigan.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's get him.
Still only 28. It looked like he played some good ball last year. He get drafted by the Raiders. I don't know if he ever came out to be the player I thought he was going to be, but
yeah,
I think he was also a guy that always kind of had flashes. I like adding him to the room.
Yeah, I like him a lot.
I actually think like low key, I'm gonna go look into like how he played last year. But
yeah,
I think that would be a lovely choice to add to that room before the draft.
Yeah, I agree. I think maybe another just real cheap wide receiver, a guy who just has experience and a guy you can potentially cut if he doesn't work out, but you just bring him in to camp and hope for the best. So like a guy who's making like $1 million a year, someone like maybe Equinemius St. Brown. I know Luke Getsy's gone and that he was his guy, but that doesn't mean you can't bring him back if he's good in the locker room and everything. You could also just take a chance on like a Laviska Shenault. And just, he's probably redundant with Bayless Jones, but
yeah, and that's if you're keeping River and McLeod is from the 49ers. I think he's a good player.
Yeah, we can do that, like a $2 million. Yeah, he's also provides like punt return value, so that's always good to have. We don't really have a guy like that if Bayless Jones is making the team or can't catch.
Okay, well, he's kind of got relegated from the punt return duties anyway.
Yeah, can't find it. There he is. All right, so then let's see. We got about $3 million to spend. Let's do. We could also do the draft and then come back.
Yeah, I think so. I think like after the draft too. That is a window when you might go back and sign your last kind of wave of free agents once you have a better idea of what your roster looks like.
Yeah, I should have done this before. But I was doing one earlier, so I have all this information in here that's no longer valid. Let's get all this stuff out.
I see DeMarcus Walker survived the cut last time.
He did. I didn't even consider it. I apparently signed DeAndre Swift too.
Oh, right. DeAndre Swift, interesting.
All right, so let's do that. So let's do the draft real quick. Yep. I do want to. We got about.
You got the trade. Yeah, I think the draft will go pretty quickly.
Yeah, the draft should go quick. So let's start it. Got the trade already in place with the Steelers.
I think that we are Caleb Williams people.
We talked about it enough.
So happy to do it.
Awesome. So that worked out.
Dunes has grown on me a lot. I've watched him a little bit more in the last couple of days, and there was a lot more to like. I think some of the advanced analytics stuff had me a little bit worried about some of his game, and there's still some stuff. I think that I'm not too certain about, but honestly, I'm surprised by his first step and the way he moves, and he just looks like a football player, kind of like, It's just as soon as you start watching, you go, this guy's a football player. Player.
I think he's a really high floor player. Like he's not going to bust. At worst case, he's going to be a solid player for you. So, and I think this is a no-brainer, just how it works out. They need a wide receiver, another weapon. You have the quarterback. You want to surround it with weapons. It just makes too much sense, and we're not going to pass.
How's that room? DJ Moore, Romo Dunes, Tyler Boyd.
We're not going to overthink that one. We're going to run to the podium.
Hey, look, that's at 52 here. I love this spot.
Yep, I actually really like Xavier Worthy. I wouldn't rule that out. Like getting a guy like Odunze who plays on the outside, and then you can get Xavier Worthy in the slot, and then you have Worthy, Odunze, and DJ Moore. Who did we sign in free agency? Tyler Boyd. So you probably don't go back-to-back wide receiver. But if you did get like a great wide receiver, then that would be in play, I would say.
The things we need to keep in mind is that we said we wanted to strike again at offensive interior, and we wanted to strike again at safety, and we wanted to strike again at edge. Those are the things that we want to prioritize if we find players of similar value, I think.
Yeah, so let's look at edge first, because I think that's if you don't draft an edge in the top 50, you're probably not going to get a very
it's trouble 100%. So I'm surprised Braylon Trice is still there.
Yeah, the thing about people forget about Braylon Trice is he's a god awful football player. No, I didn't like him.
You're not a Trice guy, eh?
I'm not a Trice guy. No.
Interesting. Okay. Well, that's fine.
I would take Austin Booker over Ellis and Trice, to be honest. I think if I was making this pick just on my own, it might be a little bit high for him, but I think he will end up being taken in the top 50.
Is there a Cam Kitchens or a Bullard here that we'd like instead?
It's because we could potentially get him at. Yeah, so Bullard's here. That would be a great one. we need a safety. Kalen Bullock is basically Eddie Jackson, but younger. But like
Cam Kitchens.
But like he's like Eddie Jackson, but like Eddie Jackson, like from like 2-3 years ago, who doesn't want to tackle anymore, but can really cover. So yeah, Cam Kinches, he might be there, at 75.
Vaki.
Vaki.
You can check 2 birds with 1 stone there. Running back safety.
Yeah, true. So I think Bullard.
If we went to just full best player available, who do they have for us here?
So we got Worthy, Ellis, Polk, Javon Bullard, Jaden Hicks, Kyrie Jackson, Chris Jenkins, who I really like. Jonathan Brooks. I think that's too high for a running back for us, even though Brooks is pretty good.
Yeah.
Pearson, we have wide receivers.
Yeah, I mean, I do too, dude. Dog. And we said we wanted to strike here. Do you want to do that?
So I think it's possible. I think it would be between
if we sat to 75.
Haynes. Yeah, I like it because he can play center, he can play guard. I think he's perfect. Let's go.
I think that rounds out our interior room way better.
There we go. We got Booker here. That's who I would pick. Let's see who the safety is, though.
I think
see if there's a safety. Kinchin's is still there too, but he might. They might be.
We also pick 84, and at that point, we just take him or Vaki, and then don't think about it.
Yeah, I feel like they would go after the more premium position, which is edge rusher. So let's go with Booker.
I think that rounds out the edge so nicely.
Yeah, no, because that's a perfect okay. So Kitchens is gone, but Booker, with the guys we have, like now you have that really a guy who is a developmental prospect who can be a situational pass rusher early on. Totally. But then once Daniil Hunter kind of ages out, he could hopefully step into a larger role. So I really like him a lot.
And it's like if he's 2 years away from being 2 years away, then he's fine there.
Yeah. Ooh, I don't love the safeties here. I think Vaki, that would be a reach. I like Dadrian, Taylor Demerson, but I think that's a pretty big reach.
All right.
Same thing with like all these guys. I don't really like any of the value here. Who else we got?
This is also something where the board didn't fall our way. We could go and add a vet safety to that with the money we have left and then call it even.
Exactly. Yeah. Just sign a guy.
You really like Jalen Wright, don't you?
I love Jalen Wright. He's Devon A-Chain. Like last year. Maybe let's maybe let's put a pin in that. Let's see who else we got.
Sure.
Cedric Van Pran. We did just draft an interior offensive line.
That we like. Tavondre Sweat.
Tavondre Sweat doesn't really. I don't know if that really fits what the Bears want. Even though I love him, he's so much fun. We drafted an edge. Michael Hall, I really like. He's more of a classic 3 technique. If they are going to go with like a D tackle, I think he would probably be someone they're interested in. I like Jalen Wright, to be honest. I don't know. I mean,
I know you do, and I've seen a lot of other people that really do as well.
I think he's going to go to the combine and run a 4.3 and be nowhere near this in the draft, though.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's going to run a 4.3. I think he's projected to run. He said he's going to run like a 4.31, or someone said he's going to run a 4.31. And then once he does that, it's game over. He's not going to 84th.
I think that's a nice addition to the offense. It rounds out the room nicely. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay, I'm not mad about that at all. All right, 111. Who we got? Spencer Rattler.
Let's do it.
Should we pull a Washington Redskins draft 2 quarterbacks in the same draft?
If he's there at 143, we have to think about it. He actually has stuff. He really does.
Yeah, I mean, I actually wouldn't really hate it, but let's see what I was going to. Leonard Taylor. Developmental interior defensive lineman. We would draft a running back. Anaya Smith.
Receiver there for you.
Yeah, that's not a bad. We do still need a safety. I love Javon Baker.
So you want to do it? I think so.
Yeah, I do. I do really want to do it. I draft Javon Baker in every single mock draft I do, and
I like Javon Baker as well, man. He moves so smooth.
He's so good. Oh man, and this guy, and then Deidre just falls for us. I think we just don't overthink it. Just draft best player available.
Yeah.
We need a safety, so let's do it. Wow, we're flying through this. All right, now this is our last pick because we didn't really make any trades besides.
I don't even hate Jordan Travis as a way to close it out.
Yeah, it's not bad.
He's hurt, right? He's gonna take some time to get himself healthy.
Yeah,
Cooper Beebe, I think
would be a good one.
Mackie Wing.
Yeah, I mean another off the lineman. We know the Bears are going to have. Zach Zinter would be a good one. Bo Brady is good, as if we want another safety. Theo Johnson as a tight end. I like Malik Mustafa. We have a running back already. I like Laube, though. Dylan Johnson's good. We have a running back already. Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of guys way down here, but
Yeah.
let's try and
I think
stick
McCaffrey, I've
to.
heard good things about.
Do we want to go BB? So BB would give us another offensive lineman, which I
Yeah, I
don't
think we
hate.
do go BB. I think we do.
Or do we want to go another corner? Like I wouldn't rule out because we have who was it, Jalen Jones? Like we
Jalen
can
Jones.
we could draft DJ James
No, but we'd probably be cutting Greg Stroman.
or Greg or some whoever it is if we want to do that just for depth because that is a premium position.
Well, you would know. You probably watched more film on these guys than I have. Who do you think, honestly, in your opinion, who would you say is just your favorite player available? I'd be with the way the roster's shaped up right now. I think you just take someone you have some fun with.
Yeah, let's see. I don't really love any of these guys to be honest, but I think.
Well, we're in the 5th round.
Yeah, I know. Theo Johnson.
We could definitely add some talent to that tight end room, like we said.
Yeah,
we didn't really take
I'm sure there's probably some random guy way down here who I'm in love with because there always is. I love the 7th rounder who sucks.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, he had that one snap that was really good.
Yeah,
Roger Rosengarten is really good. I would love that, but that might be
good.
Yeah. I mean, tackle depth, developmental tackle.
Did we take another tackle already? No, I don't think so. I like that. I think we need some tackle depth.
Yeah, let's do it. I like him. All right. Kind of sucks not having a 6 or 7 round pick. I kind of wish we would have traded down at one point, but I think we got good value.
Probably will, but I think you get into a rabbit hole if you do it when you're doing this exercise where you just start to accumulate this base of picks where you're like relax.
Yeah, and then you have to cut all those people because you have too many people on your roster. So I think this is actually a pretty good draft. We're doing it very quickly and not we could have spent another hour on this entire draft and it would have been boring.
No, totally.
But for going through it quickly, I actually really like this draft. I think
it played really well in the way that we set ourselves up with the free agency. You know what I mean? If for some reason we didn't have Christian Haynes come out there or we didn't have Romo Dunes there and we had to draft a receiver, just Javon Baker later. If we were going into the season and our receivers were Javon Baker, Ray McLeod, Tyler Boyd, and DJ Moore, you'd be like, man, you can make that work. And on top of that, now you add Romo Dunes. Yeah. It just all, I think the way, if Ryan Poles does and the way that we kind of responsibly approached free agency, you get to have a lot of fun during the draft.
For sure. All right, so let's fill this out. So we got a quarterback at 1, we got a wide receiver
at 9. We took an offensive guard at 52.
Just let me fill this in.
Yeah.
We'll put him at guard. Oh, here it is, 52. Oops. 52. That's Christian Haynes. We got an edge at 75. Austin Booker.
Yes, we did.
We got what else we got? So who's that?
We took a running back at 84.
Right.
And as you can see, for the people at home, this is punching in. It's actually pretty incredible. It's punching in the amount of money that would be allotted to a player at that position drafted at that draft pick within the draft. The rookie scale is set, so we know how much these people will make if and when they get drafted at these positions. And that's why all this money is auto-populating. And you see our precious cap space disappearing in front of our eyes. Have fun with that one, Adrian.
Yeah, right. Why isn't these picks in here?
What pick was it?
123. How did we get that?
Oh, did we get that through the Steelers?
Oh, you know what? I have this set to trade for some reason. Okay. We're good. Should be there now. There we go. So Adrian, Taylor, Demerson. I think that's right.
Yep.
Close enough, if not.
Sorry, brother.
And then we have one more pick, Roger Rosengarten, 143. So that's a tackle at 1. The picks are a little off, but that's okay. It's the same general. Okay, so now we have all of our picks entered, and we have about $4 million. So that's probably on the low end for what they would have. You probably want like $5 to $6 million to kind of play with.
Well, what are we at? We have 54, so we have a cut.
We do have to cut someone. So let's see.
Tell Greg Stroman. I'm sorry, bud.
We have 7 wide receivers on our roster. So it says 6, but I have Javon Baker listed as a fullback just because they only let you put 1 draft pick.
Oh, okay.
Receiver. So we have 7 wide receivers on our team.
So who's gonna break it to Velas?
Yeah, I do think that's probably who we would cut, right? Like you got DJ Moore. I mean, you're not cutting Tyler Scott after 1 year. He makes the more money. Like,
the quarterback that's getting traded was out calling him a dumbass today. He's getting cut.
He's getting cut. They did call him a dumbass. That was so funny.
Oh, that was crazy. I was like, if Justin didn't think he was getting traded, he wouldn't be saying this shit. He's never said anything like that in his entire career as a Bear.
Yeah. All right, so let's back over $5 million. I think that makes sense. I think that's pretty good.
Dude, I don't know. This might be if the Bears did this, hang the banner.
Yeah, let's see. Well, let's fill out the depth chart and we'll see what it looks like. So we got, what is it, Tyson Bagent probably as our number 2.
That might probably change.
Yeah, I was gonna say that might be a position where you see a veteran brought in. I think we're fine for right now.
Yep.
So we have at pick 84. That was Jalen Wright. We have wide receiver 1, DJ Moore. Wide receiver 2, Rome Odunze, pick 9. Wide receiver 3 would be Tyler Boyd. 4 would be Javon Baker.
Tyler.
Tyler Scott, Velus Jones is no longer team. That'd be Ray Roncott. So those are 6 wide receivers. I think that's pretty good.
Yep.
All right, tight end. We have Colby Parkinson as our backup tight end. Left tackle. Or our center is going to be Aaron Brewer.
Yep.
And then our backup guard would be
pick 52.
Yep, that was Christian Haynes.
He'll probably be we'd probably have him as the backup across a bunch of positions.
Yeah, right. He would be the backup center too, pretty much. He'd be, and then Carter's there.
Did we cut Kramer?
We did cut Kramer.
Yeah, so I think that's fine.
So then you'd have Borum and Roger Rosengarten as your backup tackles. Borum can also play interior, so it's okay. I feel like that's okay to have both of them.
I think Borum as your swing and your backup tackle is so fine.
Yeah. So then we have Grenard. Oh, for some reason I thought we had Daniil Hunter, but I think that's okay. So we have Sweat and Grenard as your starters. You have Uche and Austin Booker coming off the bench.
Love that.
I love that. I think that's a really good room. It's a lot of speed in that room.
And then you also have Dom Robinson and Khalid Kareem.
Yep, true. So you got some guys. Khalid Kareem's a little bit bigger as well. What's that?
So lots to like.
Yeah, lots of like. So cornerback here we have Jalen Johnson, obviously Terrell Smith, Tyreek Stevenson, Kyler Gordon, Greg Stroman. We'll put him in there, and Jalen Jones are your backups. Yep. Safeties we drafted. We have Geno Stone.
I think Geno Stone probably starts.
Yep, for sure, 100%. And then you have, who do we have? We got Elijah Hicks, and we have our draft pick,
Emerson,
who was Taylor Emerson. I think he was 122.
Yep.
What a great name, too.
I know.
Just classic. All right.
You did. That's funny.
And then we have Trent Gill, and then did we see him? We don't have a long.
No, yeah,
I thought we didn't. I thought we had a long snapper.
Yeah, I thought we decided to keep him.
Yeah, Cameron Lyons. Where is he? Why can't I put him in there? Okay, well, you get the point. We'll just put it.
It's our boy Cam.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't really affect anything. So with all of our depth chart in, so we have Caleb Williams as your quarterback, Khalil Herbert and Jalen Wright would be kind of splitting carries. Roshan Johnson would be in play there too. DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, Tyler Boyd as your wide receivers with Tyler Scott and Javon Baker coming off the bench. Love that. Cole Kmet at tight end. Colby Parkinson knows the offense. Yep. Braxton Jones, Tevin Jenkins, Aaron Brewer, Nate Davis, Darnell Wright, your starting offensive line.
Love that.
Yeah, I think that's a solid group.
Man, I think that Nate Davis can only get better this year.
Right.
More experience, less of, there was a lot going on in his life. And, a credit to the Bears for letting him kind of take care of his business. But you'd only imagine that he's coming back a lot more like himself this year.
Yep, and Darnell Wright's going to get better. Braxton Jones is going to be healthy, play a full year. He's going to get a little bit better. Maybe he doesn't take that next leap to be, top 10 offensive tackle, but if he just gets a little bit better, he's
got Roger Rosengarten.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I mean, he doesn't have to get much better to be just a solid starter. I think he's already a good starter.
Totally. I think that I think that he takes way too much flack for no reason.
That's a solid group. If Darnell Wright, just takes the next
NFL starter already.
Right. With this group, if Darnell Wright just takes, the next step, builds off his rookie year, and Nate Davis gets to the player he was in Tennessee, this is a hell of a good offensive line. That's definitely something you can win with. Interior D-line, we got Andrew Billings and Gervon Dexter. That's pretty good. Zach Pickens and Maurice Hurst coming off the bench. I like both those guys as just, depth and who can, fill in if needed. Montez Sweat and Jonathan Grenard rushing off the edge. Like I said, we got Uche and Booker coming too, giving some speed. I like that. Linebackers are obviously solid. Not much change there from last year, but just really good group. Jalen Johnson, again, like this is another group. Tyreek Stevenson played really well at the end of the year there.
I think that's the group that has a chance to take a step to like a really, really elite group for this team.
If he could play all year like he did the last 5-6 weeks, whatever it was, then they can
play all year together healthy and finally get to do so with the Montez Sweat version of the Bears pass rush as opposed to like the first half of last season pass rush that we saw. Mm-hmm. I think this whole defense as a whole, especially with the continuity they get to keep with Eberflus, which was like kind of the only reason you would decide to keep him. That defense was surging and was the strongest unit of the team, was leading us to some good victories down the stretch. Keeping Flus was saying, okay, we're going to fix the offense and we're going to build on what we already had. If you believe that you're going to build on what you already had, that defense could take some really big strides in the right direction.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. And then with the safety group, I don't love this safety group. Jergon Briscoe and Gio Stone, I think, are both fine. They don't really have a game changer on the back end there, but with how good that pass rush would be and everything, and the cornerbacks would be, I think you could win with that safety group.
Totally. And if it's something that, come the trade deadline situation, the Bears realize that they have a competitive team and think that they'd be only getting more competitive as the season goes on. Maybe you try and add to it then, or you make it a priority next season. And like having two safeties that you don't love that are fine, especially with some depth that I think you're all right with, a good rookie and Elijah Hicks. It's not going to sink your ship next year whatsoever.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is, if this is how the offseason went, like I would be very happy with that.
Oh, I'd be ecstatic.
Especially the offense. If Caleb Williams is who we think he can be, plus pairing hit DJ Moore with Rome Odunze and fixing the offensive line a little bit, I think that's. And I think the one thing we want to point out here is we used the pick 9 on a wide receiver. We signed a middle tier center. And we signed Tyler Boyd. And that's really all we did to really fix it in offense. Like, I don't think this offense was that far behind.
No, for sure.
You don't have to do a whole lot. And if they wanted to spend bigger money on a center, that's just only going to look even better.
No, 100%. And, there's also a world where that Romo Dunes pick is Malik Neighbors, and then things look really, really attractive.
Oh, my God. I hope so.
Dude, Lance, we could say this for another conversation, but Lance Zierlein came out today and had him as the number 1 prospect in the draft. And it was like, yo, shut up.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I'm still not having mustered up the courage to put him over Marvin Harrison, but
we've been talking about it for like a month and a half now. It was such a funny thing. We were like, man, I really, really like Malik Neighbors. You're like, yeah, me too. Like, if only I could say it like that. And I was like, just say it.
It's one of those things. It's like, well, you were talking. You're like, well, obviously Marvin Harrison Jr. is the best wide receiver, but I really like Malik Neighbors. He does this and this and this and this and this. And then you're like, and he's in terms of weaknesses.
You're like, I don't know. And then you keep.
I guess he's not great at contested catches. But then it's like, okay, he doesn't need to do contested catches because he gets just so wide open. So it's like
you just kept saying stuff, and then okay. Actually, he kind of does have incredible hands. Like the upside on his hands is amazing. And you're like, okay, he doesn't really run too hard, and it's like maybe he actually just runs incredibly well. And the fact that he's so non-busy with his arms, I think he gets by people so easily. We could go. I feel like we could gush about Malik Neighbors.
Yeah, we're gonna do a combine preview next week, and I'm sure we'll talk a ton about Malik Neighbors because assuming he tests, he's gonna blow it up. So we'll talk all about all of that then. But I think this is a pretty good stopping point with the mock off season. Like I said earlier, I'm sure we'll do another one post combine, and once you get a few weeks out from the combine, then it's pro days, and it gets a little bit slower then. So we'll want to do another one of these. And we'll probably do a more a fuller mock draft rather than just going through it quickly, kind of talk through all the scenarios. So we'll have plenty of time to talk about all those guys. But I think this is a pretty good mock off season for doing it in an hour.
Yeah, no, good start. I think it gives you. I think the fans that maybe aren't as dialed into like the free agents and who the Bears free agents are and who are in the draft. Like if you're more of a a tune into Sports Center type fan, which is totally fine. Like this gives you an idea of what the Bears will be looking to target, the areas they definitely need to address just based on the holes in the roster and some of the guys that they could look at doing and going and getting.
Absolutely. All right. I think that pretty much covers it. I got to get going, but make
Me
sure
too.
to make you got to get to sleep. Probably it's like 2 in the morning there, but
Yeah.
make sure to like, subscribe, share. Please, we do really appreciate everyone supporting the channel. So yeah, do all that, and we'll be back next week talking combine. Till then, everyone, bear down.
Bear down.